In an earlier video, we created a new capacity plan, we added our teams, defined their capacity, and then added the features that we want to plan. Immediately, we started seeing some warnings pop up in our plan, and that's completely normal and part of the process. So let's take a look at that same plan. And to do that, I'm going to go to Portfolio Capacity Planning. And this page shows all available plans for the currently selected project. Like most Rally pages, I can search, define filters, and show additional fields on this page. I can also see the number of portfolio items in each plan and the number of teams or projects in each plan, and I can select these numbers to see the details in a pop-up. We want to look at the plan we created for fiscal year 2024 Q4, so I can just select the plan ID, and we can see that we do have some warnings that we should investigate. Think of each warning as a discussion point and a way to refine your plan and make it better. If you hover over these warnings, you can see exactly what's going on. And here we can see several issues for the core team. But before we start drilling into these errors, it's important to understand how these status bars work. Each status bar at the team and feature level moves left to right, and this key explains the values that you're seeing. On the far left of each bar, you have the percentage of work that's been completed, shown as dark blue. Our plan was created using story points instead of counts, so all of these percentages are in terms of points. Next in the bar, you have roll-up, which is light blue. So as stories are created for each feature, the estimates for each story are rolled up into a total for the feature. Then you have points estimated, which show up as these gray bars, and this is the sum of all the estimates for each feature that's assigned to the team. And last, you have capacity in the green bars. So, in our core team, we don't have any completed work because we just started the planning process. We do have 26 roll-up points because the team has already built out the necessary user stories for their first feature. And if you add up the points from the estimated column, you can see that we have 35 points estimated. We don't have any green showing here because we haven't defined the capacity for this team yet. Okay, so if you were paying attention in the last video, we did define capacity, but I removed it so I could show you this warning. So the idea is that as your planning progresses, each team should have some remainder of capacity that shows up as green bars, because you typically don't want to plan to 100% capacity. You want to allow for scope growth. And as teams create stories, more of that bar will turn light blue. And then as the release progresses, more and more of that bar will turn dark blue to indicate completed work. Now, the most common warnings that you're probably going to see in your plan are when one of these categories overruns a category to the right. Right now, our roll-up points exceed our capacity, and our estimated points exceed our capacity. But that's probably because we failed to define capacity for this team, and it's showing as 0. We talked about how to determine capacity and the tools that are available in Rally in an earlier video, so let's just enter the capacity we already determined for this team. And that actually resolved all 3 errors at the team level, which is pretty good. And now we have some green bars that are showing we have remaining capacity. We do still have a couple of errors at the feature level. And this warning displays in the team header, so you can see it even if the team is collapsed. Let's start with the easy one. Here we have a feature that's missing an estimate completely. Let's assume that the team had a discussion, and they decided that this feature is a large. That's a preliminary estimate that needs to be refined, but let's go ahead and update this feature with that initial estimate. So that fixed one problem, but introduced another. Now our estimated points for this team have exceeded their capacity. Estimated points are now 135 with a capacity of 130. And this is all part of the planning process and completely normal. But let's put a pin in that problem for the moment and look at our other feature warning. Here we have 26 roll-up points that exceed our preliminary estimate of 25 points. If we look at the feature, there are 3 stories that all add up to 26 points. Clearly, it's time to refine our estimate. And the temptation would be to add a refined estimate of 26 points. But that would mean that we're 100% confident that this will not grow past 26 points. I would recommend entering a refined estimate that's slightly larger than the current roll-up. And by the way, if you're using counts rather than points, you enter your refined estimate in this field. It's also worth pointing out that the icon in the estimated column just changed. The t-shirt indicates a preliminary estimate. The star indicates a refined estimate. If a feature has both, your plan uses the refined estimate for the calculations with the assumption that this is a more accurate estimate. If you have an allocated estimate, that's used over the refined as an even more precise estimate. But we're going to cover allocations in our next video in the series. At this point, we've resolved all of our errors for the core team, except that estimates exceed capacity. The only way to resolve this is to increase your capacity or reduce your estimates. Increasing your capacity probably means increasing the size of your team, moving someone else onto the team, or hiring a contractor. But usually the answer is to reduce scope. In this scenario, we are pretty close, and we are still dealing with preliminary estimates. So it is possible that this 100-point feature might actually turn out to be smaller when it's broken down. Now we've resolved all of our warnings, but we are planned to 100% of our capacity, which is typically not a good idea. So depending on the priority of this smaller feature, it probably makes sense to steer it out, at least for now. To do that, I select this gear icon, and I have several options. Allocations deal with splitting a feature between teams, and we'll discuss that in another video. You can remove it completely from the plan or move it to another plan. But what I'm going to do is select Remove All Assignments. This option removes it from the team, but leaves it in the plan as unassigned. Again, this is another opportunity for discussions as to whether it should be moved out or if it's more important than something else that's remained in the plan. The core team is looking much better, though it is still a little high in committed work as a percentage of capacity. We recommend planning less than 90%, but for this video, let's call it good. Now let's look at the mobile team. We have the same issue where a feature is missing its estimate. Let's say the team has agreed that this should be a medium. Now we have the same problem where the estimated work exceeds their capacity. Let's say on refinement, this feature turned out to truly be 100 points. But after refinement, this one dropped slightly to 45 points. Again, we might consider steering out this smaller feature, but if we look at our feature list, this item is our second highest priority. Now there are some hard decisions and discussions to be had, and hopefully this video has shown you how this planning process works and how it evolves. If this smaller but higher priority feature is structured in such a way that two different teams could work on it, splitting the work between teams might be a solution to this problem. And we'll look at that in our next video, assigning and allocating work in a capacity plan. To learn more about Rally and Agile practices, check out our blog and community. Like this video and subscribe to our channel so that you'll never miss new content as it's added.